So this is a lesson on writing basic major and minor scales. So for my Year 9 classes, I'll generally provide a circle of fifths on an exam. Year 10, I provide a partial one, and they have to fill out what's missing. But certainly by Year 11 and 12, you should be able to write out a quick circle of fifths to help you answer some of these exam questions. So let's start with D. If we were going to write a D major scale, the first thing obviously is just to put in the notes. When you're putting in the notes, just make sure that you hit every space and every line and that you count the notes when you're finished. Might seem really basic and simple thing to say, but you'd be surprised how many students skip a line or a space, or perhaps end up here somewhere and not even finishing on the tonic note of D. You should have a D at the bottom, you should have a D at the top. And they're just simple things you can check. It only takes a moment and saves you losing marks for doing something silly. Next thing to do is to have a look at our circle of fifths and think about what you're being required to write. Let's say in this case we are doing a D major scale. You look at your circle of fifths. Obviously major keys are around the outside. There's our D major there. And you can see that it's got two sharps. With your sharps, there's a saying that you need to remember. Fish can't get drunk after eating bait. I was taught Father Charles goes down and ends battle, but I find the fish can't get drunk after eating bait. It's a little bit funny, and students tend to remember that one a little bit better. Alright, so we've got our saying, and we've found where our key is on the circle of fifths. Next thing to do is to work out what sharps and flats it has. Now with our saying, we need to remember that the sharps come from the left-hand side and the flats come from the right-hand side. So if we have one sharp, it would be an F sharp. Alright, the first one. If we have two sharps, it will be an F and a C sharp, and so on. If we had three sharps, it would be F, C, and G, and you keep working your way along depending on how many sharps we have. In this case, we only have the two, F and C. So what I suggest to students is they learn how to write the key signatures, and then you write this in as a key signature at the start of the scale. You do an F and you do a C. That F and that C will go automatically on to the F and the C in the scale. So you don't need to put accidentals in, you don't need to do anything else. And I do find that students tend to get the key signatures right, and they more commonly get into trouble when they start doing accidentals. However, to do the accidentals for this scale, we know that it's F and C we need. We can just go, well, D's here, so D, E, F is here, so that needs a sharp, F, G, A, B, C's here, so that needs a sharp. Okay, so that's the other way of going about that. I think personally it takes a little bit longer, and there's just more room to make a mistake. I've noticed on VC exams, they don't tend to ask for accidentals. In fact, I have not seen them ask for accidentals ever. And the key signature is a nice tidy way of dealing with all that. Okay, let's try one more. So if we get rid of all that, we'll start again. And let's just say we're going to do a scale in the key of G minor. So we're going to go to the other side now. Let's find G minor. Obviously the minor keys are on the inside of our circle. Here's G here. So that's the one we're looking at. It has two flats. Now we need our saying. Fish can't get drunk after eating bait. Our flats come from the right-hand side, sharps on the left. So if we have two flats, they will be B flat and E flat. Now I'm sort of doing this around the other way. I'm doing the key signature first, which is fine. You can do the key signature and then the notes. It doesn't matter. So let's do the key signature first. If you have the circle of fifths on your exam, like you well do in Year 9, and you'll even have the key signature still there in Year 10, you can just copy that onto your stave. So a B flat and an E flat. Obviously, if you're a bit further along, I would expect you to, I would expect you to know where those flats are located. We do them in the order that they appear, so in this case we do them in that order. So we do the B first, and then the E second. All your sharps and flats always appear in that order. Alright? If you're doing it from the left-hand side with sharps, they appear in that order. Okay. Deleted him again. Now we're going to draw the scale. Make sure you can find G. That's really important. If you don't know your notes by now, you need to go and practice that. But I'm not going to do that on this lesson. So we start on our G, and we do our 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Double check that you haven't missed any. Double check that you've got a G at the bottom and a G at the top. And there you go. The flats will put themselves, because you've got a key signature, that becomes a B flat. That becomes an E flat. Job's done. You don't need to do any accidentals.